Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to today's episode of Locked On Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. My name is Nick Bondi. I'm joined as always by my brilliant co-host, Lachlan Irvin. And Lachlan, we have our first Canucks home game with fans in 18, 19 months. It's been quite a while since we've had a game like this in Vancouver, and I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. It's against, just an absolute, a very exciting opponent in the Minnesota Wild. You know how the Minnesota Wild are.
Well, they have that perception. I don't think they're that anymore, though.
I think they've gotten better. They've gotten better. I'll say that. Like since Kirill Kaprizov showed up last year, they've gotten much better. It's been much easier to be like, oh, this is actually an interesting team that I would consider watching on my day if I had to pick a game to watch today, right? Because that has been the case for a very long time. They've been a team that loves and adores the group that can play the dump and chase, the Jacques Lemaire-esque hockey from when he started, because he was their first coach.
Yeah,
he set that tempo and tone of just how can we play the most boring hockey imaginable, but now they're not there anymore. Now they've gotten much better at it. Now they've got a group that's made up of a pretty young core of guys like Kevin Fiala, Joel Eriksson-Ek. You've got a pretty good group there, and they're play a much more entertaining brand of hockey now. And the type of game that you're going to get here is going to be a lot, like, frankly, even different from the play from a couple years ago in the playoffs, or the qualifiers, and how I think it's going to be even different from that group. So it's going to be like a fun matchup today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that game tonight versus the Minnesota Wild, the home opener for the Vancouver Canucks this season. The second last team to have their home opener. Obviously, the other team is the New York Islanders, who are on a ridiculous 13-game road trip to start the NHL season because their stadium is still literally under construction. Like they're still building it right now to get ready for the Islanders to play. We'll also talk about just the fact that this is going to be the first home game with full capacity since March 12th of last year. So that should be really exciting for all the fans out there. And the injury bug, yes, it's hit the Vancouver Canucks this season already. We'll talk all about that to end the show. But first, it's game day. It's the home opener versus the Minnesota Wild. Canucks coming in with a 3-2-1 record. We mentioned it on yesterday's episode. The perception of this team is, I think, totally different after those last two wins against Chicago and Seattle, right? It's a lot better move than potentially it could have been heading into this home opener. But Minnesota, they've gone out to a pretty good start. They lost to Nashville on Sunday, but before that, they won 4 straight. So they're 4-1. They're a good team. They control the puck really well. They got some good depth forwards, like you mentioned, like Joel Eriksson-Ek, down lineup guys like Marcus Foligno and Jordan Greenway. I would even venture they have a better bottom six than the Canucks. Like they've got a really, really deep team. They're my pick to be like the dark horse team for me in our Locked On NHL season predictions. If anyone can remember that, not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but I think this is a good chance or a good spot to catch the Minnesota Wild because this is their third game in 4 nights. They played the Anaheim Ducks at home, and then they had to go and travel to Nashville on Sunday. Now they got to come all the way to the West Coast, to Vancouver, on Tuesday. So third game in 4 nights, a lot of travel. This is a good spot to catch the Minnesota Wild, in my opinion. A lot of road miles for the Minnesota Wild in this kind of 4-day, 3-game stretch. And the first look for a lot of fans at Kirill Kaprizov. Obviously won the Calder last year, highly touted young Russian stud. This is a different team than the Canucks played in the bubble back last summer in Edmonton. This is an improved team. They got the forward depth. Obviously, they have that superstar forward now in Kaprizov that they didn't have in the bubble. So this is going to be a test. This is a good test for the Canucks in their home opener. They're not going to roll over the Minnesota Wild.
No, which is kind of what they need right now. Like the last thing I think the Canucks would need, as much as great as I was at the home opener the last time fans were allowed in the building against the Kings, that whole big 50th anniversary game, Bo Horvat getting the captaincy, the Canucks winning 8-2. Excuse me. They needed they that at that time, like that was kind of needed there. Right now for the Canucks, I would say in a way the Canucks need don't what they don't need is like a very lackluster opponent coming in here and them completely crushing them to a point, like to an unrealistic degree kind of thing, right? Like
Mhm.
in a sense of like LA, when they came in, were clearly not going to finish very high in the standings that year.
No.
You knew the Canucks were probably going to win that game. It was just a matter of by how much. This the group they got coming in today is very different. The Wild are a team that are very much in the playoff mix. Um, they're a team that they played very recently in the bubble, albeit again, like super different from the last time. That team had Alex Stalock as a starting goaltender. They had uh, Zach Parise and Ryan Suter on two of the worst contracts imaginable. As good as they were as players, as good as fine as they were as players, the contracts were not good. This is a team that honestly looked like they were not going to be very competitive for quite a while. Just like it very much felt like at the time that was kind of like their last shot for the foreseeable future. And yet no, here they are. They actually look better than they did the 2 years ago. They've got again like a rejuvenated group in the forward core like with Kirill Kaprizov, a man who has taken my jersey number of 97. Clearly,
You got
just
the
another
custom
guy.
jerseys in the back. If you're watching
Yeah,
the YouTube
yeah,
version,
I
you're a
definitely.
big custom jersey guy. You want to pretend like you're on the team.
It's not that I want to pretend I'm on the team. It's the fact of, look, you know what, like players and coaches go, but you never do. So like if I have
Seems a bit
jerseys with me,
narcissistic to put your
if
own
I have
name and number
if
on
I
a
have
Canucks jersey.
no, it isn't. Nah, it isn't. It's totally fine. It's totally fine because it's like why it's like you're gonna be there longer than any player, than any coach, any owner even. You're gonna be there forever. So like your jersey will never be out of date that way. It's always
Yeah, but
current.
then you can get a nice, cool retro jersey if the guy, if it's a club legend.
Yeah, you can always do that too. Like, I definitely wanna, and also, like I've honestly just never been a big like player jersey guy, at least not for the Canucks. Because again, I always am like, oh, they're gonna get traded someday. They're gonna get like moved on. And I don't know. I like the 97. 97's been my jersey number through all of my hockey years, so I like wearing it. I like wearing that
Even
number
before
a lot.
McDavid.
Oh, long before McDavid. Actually, a running joke I have is that, and hence why I was making the joke here, is that I've been wearing 97 I want to say Pee Wee. It would have been 2009. Yeah, 2009, 2010. I've been wearing 97 since that time. And then Connor McDavid came in, and I like to joke that
Even
he
as a
took that
goalie,
in
you were
my
wearing
honor.
97.
Yeah, that was that was my jersey
Yeah.
number. I
Okay,
didn't.
that's
I
that's pretty
specifically
unique then.
Yeah, I specifically picked it because I didn't want a jersey that goalies wore all the time, and I wanted a number that was very much mine, and no goalie at the time had ever worn 97. To this day, I don't think in the NHL, still hasn't yet. So yeah, I picked that, and then I joked that Connor McDavid wears it as a tribute to me, and his favorite hockey player is me, so that's why he wears it. But yeah, so either way, Kirill Kaprizov is a really great young player, and again, completely changed the way the Minnesota Wild look at hockey and the way that they kind of play the game. Like they very much have tried to build now this offense that plays a little bit more, really like the Canucks do. Like this still defense. Defense is still very important, and they want to like get in the shooting lanes and block shots. But they're much more inclined to try and start a quick rush up the ice and keep trying to pour on the attack even after they have the lead. So you're not going to get a kind of game where they're going to put it in park necessarily right the second they get the lead or something and just try and feather the time through playing good defense. You're going to see them keep trying to run the score up. They're going to keep trying to make your life miserable in the offensive zone. And yeah, this is a team that has a lot of the same faces from the bubble, like Ryan Hartman, like Kevin Fiala, like Matt Dumba, Jared Spurgeon, but they're going to be coming in playing a very different type of hockey, and one that frankly is going to make it much harder for the Canucks to win tonight.
Yeah, they're a team that likes to control the play, control the puck, and it's going to be a test for the Canucks defense, right? Like they've gotten the win the past 2 games, but it hasn't been super convincing in the sense that they've still been outshot, outchanced, and Thatcher
Yep.
Demko once again is going to have to be the first star or one of the best players on the ice for the Canucks to get a result here, and we'll see what happens in that sense because I'm worried about the Canucks defense going up against the likes of the Minnesota Wild. Again, we talk about the Canucks forward depth. Minnesota Wild probably have better forward depth than the Vancouver Canucks, and that's saying something because I think the Canucks forward depth really improved in the offseason.
Yeah, I was watching the Wild Predators game the other day, just knowing they were going to be the next one up on the schedule. Wanted to get a look at what they were doing, and one of the guys who scored was Nick Bjugstad in that game. Nick Bjugstad plays on the fourth line. He's their fourth line guy. They didn't have the best night all as a group, as a unit. In fact, I believe if I was seeing some of the Twitter, like some of the Wild people on Twitter talk about how this was like Kaprizov's very similar in a way, very similar to Pedersen in the sense of like they were like, oh, he's coming off this is his like toughest game of the year. This has been the worst game he's played this season. So both him and like this Kaprizov and Pedersen are coming off of games where they really did not have the best night for themselves. And I think that seeing that fourth line goal was something that again the Canucks have not gotten a lot of even this even into this year with their improved forward core. You haven't gotten a lot of goals out of your fourth line, out of your bottom six. With the exception of Nils Höglander, who sometimes ends up playing on the third line for whatever reason. Um, it's it's very much a case of the Canucks. Yeah, they don't have the forward core to match right now. In particular, they have the especially with the injuries that we're going to talk about later. But again, that's all the more reason why this is a good test for them and why it's like a case of, okay, can your big guns step up when they need to? Can the bottom six punch above their weight and outplay the guys across the ice for them? If you can put this kind of a game together and win, that again, it puts I think a lot of us at ease on how good they can do this season.
And I want to see the Vancouver Canucks special team step up in this game. We talked about like the struggles of Elias Pettersson last season, like you mentioned, very similar to how Kirill Kaprizov has started the season. Just the guy you expect to be, off to a great start right off the hop and doing his thing hasn't really done so far. But players like that, they're liable to go off pretty much at any moment. But I'm interested to see if there's a bounce back for the Canucks special teams tonight, the power play and the penalty kill, because if the Canucks want to succeed in the long run of this season, they're going to have to get those 2 units going.
Yep. They have to find a way to get the special teams going. Especially like tonight is the kind of night where you're playing a defense that's so good. You're playing it like, well, I mean, like they're not world beaters, but I shouldn't say like that might be, that would be a little bit over exaggeration, but they're very solid group. Like you have Spurgeon and Dumba, and then as well you got Jonas Brodin, who's considered one of the like most underrated defensemen in the NHL.
A great defensive defenseman, kind of like a Chris Tanev type.
Very much a Chris Tanev. That is exactly the description I've heard people use talking about Jonas Brodin. And then they have even like Dmitry Kulikov and John Merrill in your third pairing, which is not bad. That's a pretty good looking, like it's a bit of a weirder tandem pairing, but it works. It's good when it's only your third pairing. That's a pretty good look. The only question mark really being Alex Goligoski, just based on his age, really. Like it's not about the fact if everything else, he's a very well-established NHL defenseman. So if you're going to get your power play going tonight of all nights against a team like that, a team that has that kind of blue line, if you can get your power play rolling around them and like their defensive group, it really sets the confidence. It really boosts your confidence going into the rest of the year. Your penalty kill, same thing. You're going to be facing some pretty lethal shooters. If you can neutralize them a lot better than you have with other teams in recent games, then you're going to do pretty darn well. And it's going to really set the tone for the rest of this homestand.
I expect Cam Talbot to get the start tonight in goal for the Minnesota Wild, and he's had a bit of a resurgence in Minnesota. We remember, the end of his time in Edmonton. He was kind of just cast off. He had that great season when the Oilers made a second round Game 7 against Anaheim, just completely fell off a cliff after that. Let go, goes to Minnesota, and he's played pretty well. Now, obviously, maybe the Wild have a bit more defensive presence in front of him, maybe a better defense, but he's had a great resurgence with Minnesota Wild. So I expect him to get the start over Kapanen, or as I like to call him, Crapo Krapanen, because he's not very good. So I expect fully for Cam Talbot to get the start tonight.
Yeah, I've surprisingly talked about Cam Talbot quite a lot in my short podcasting career. Simply because of the fact that I often use him as an example for what happens when you play a goaltender a healthy number of games versus an unhealthy number of games in a season. Because again, a lot of his career really got set back after he played 70 plus games for the Oilers in their first year at the new Rogers Place, their playoff run and everything. And he was never the same after that, simply because of the fact that they really overplayed him, and that snowballed into issues for the rest, like for years after. It wasn't until he got to Minnesota that things really turned around for him. And it's good to see him back playing at the level that I think he's truly capable of. And it's going to be a good matchup in goal between him and Thatcher Demko tonight.
And for tonight's game, if you want to bet on the Vancouver Canucks, they're actually the money line underdog, which is a bit surprising considering it's the home opener. And if you want to do that, there's no better place to bet on the game than BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball, football, and hockey action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for all the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Okay, Lachlan, tonight, the home opener, the first home game with a full capacity since March 12th of 2020. I believe that was a game against the New York Islanders, if I remember correctly. It's going to be interesting. We've talked about, you've been to a game, I think, in the preseason at Rogers Arena, right? And you talked about your experience. And we talked about this on this show when the provincial government announced that there's going to be a full capacity coming up. It actually started in effect yesterday. So you can go into full capacity with a proof of double vaccination. And again, we talked about this. Everyone's comfort level is going to be a bit different coming in. We haven't been in full crowds since, March of last year. It's going to take time for some people just to get comfortable with the fact that to get used to it. Everyone's going to be a bit different. I have no problem knowing that if everyone's double vaccinated, that I'd be comfortable in the full crowd. But again, everyone else is totally different. Still tickets available. It's a bit
It looks
misleading.
like they've gotten closer. It looks like they've gotten closer to
Well,
selling
I
everything
just
now.
want to say it's a bit misleading when you see when you go, because everyone on Twitter, all they do is they just take a screenshot of Ticketmaster, right? And just from experience, I used to work closely with a ticket broker. And those pink tickets are season ticket holders who leave the tickets up for sale. They see if
Yes.
anyone wants to buy them, and if they don't, no one sells them. They go themselves. So it's a
Right.
bit misleading. It's a bit misleading when you see that the pink thing is like, oh, look at all the tickets available. I would say it's going to
There
be
were a lot.
pretty close to a sellout, if not
Yeah.
a sellout. It's
There
going to be
was a
close,
lot.
though.
Yeah, there was a lot of blue, I think is what mostly people were pointing at.
Well,
There
I'm looking
was a
at the
lot of blue
screenshot
and
from Rob, the hockey guy, and I barely see any blue now. So maybe it's
yeah,
changed since.
now it's fixed. Yeah, I definitely heard that they were having trouble selling those last few straight up seats, cuz now yeah, like you said, it's a sellout. The second they sell the blue tickets, it's a sellout game. Even if people resell them online or just don't go, it still technically counts. Um, so yeah, the Canucks were having a little bit of issues, and I don't know. I don't think that's so much to do with the fact that that the team hasn't been super great to start the year. I think a lot of that just has to do very fairly with the fact that people are a little nervous about
Yeah,
going to things
and
again,
we've seen
especially
this all across Canada to start the season, right? Like
all
there
all
there
across
is there
the NHL. Really, there have been some teams that have had some issues selling tickets to start out the year for sure.
it's just going to take time for people to get used to going back to games, and everyone's going to go at their own pace, and everyone's going to be comfortable when they want to go in their own time frame, right? So it's going to be, but I think it's going to be fun to see a full crowd at Rogers Arena again. We didn't see crowds at all last season. It's been a while since we've seen the Canucks play in front of the fans here in Vancouver at Rogers Arena, and I've been hearing rumors online that there's going to be a pretty cool pregame ceremony. Travis Green is going to make a speech. Apparently, I don't know what he's going to say, but it's going to be a quite the spectacle, I think. So maybe make sure you you tune into the game right at 7. I think there's going to be something cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like I don't know if an emotional night is the right way to put it. I think for some people, yeah, it is gonna feel a little bit like this is what we've always talked about is sports are a luxury, and really they're a privilege of of having your society running at its best, right? You don't get sports during times where things are not going well, where things are not going well. Sports are always something that goes very quickly because they're an extra, they're an additive, they're something that it's there when things are going great. But the second the going gets really tough and priorities need to be changed, sports are often one of the things that's first to go. And so when you see sports come back, when you're able to go to sporting events again, that's a sign that things are getting back to the normal that you want, albeit a very different normal than we're used to, than we had before. Like people wearing masks at games, that's going to be a very common occurrence. I would honestly say that that's probably gonna.
I think there's still a mask mandate for things like full capacity even at Rogers Arena when
Oh,
everyone has
a
to be double
hundred
vaccinated,
percent.
right?
Yo, 100% there
Yeah.
is. And like even past like when that mandate gets lifted, I wouldn't be surprised if you see people wearing masks more regularly, more commonly just in everyday life nowadays, just to like keep themselves to feel safer in their own way. So this is part of the package now, and I think people are going to I think people are just happy to be able to go back to games again. I know I sure am. I can't wait to go back to seeing hockey
Are you going
live
to the
again.
game tonight?
I am not going tonight. I was planning to. Did not get a chance to buy tickets though, unfortunately.
That's a
But
shame.
soon I'm gonna go. I'll be there as soon as I
Yeah.
possibly
No,
can. I can
I'm going to the
guarantee
game
that.
against the Rangers next week.
Oh,
So
very nice, very
yeah,
nice. That's a good
and
game.
I'm going
That's
to
good.
Abbotsford Canucks game this Friday. I think they're playing the Ontario the LA Kings affiliate, Ontario something.
The Ontario Reign, yes,
Okay, yeah.
yes. That's all. Yeah, I haven't been up to Abbotsford yet either. I'm hoping to do that pretty soon too.
Yeah, no, it's I haven't been to a game either. That's why I kind of wanted to go Friday night. It should be interesting, but there is going to be full capacity at Rogers Arena. It's going to be full capacity. I'm interested to see The crowd tonight, again, I think the players are going to get really amped up for this game. I'm making a bet right now the Canucks are going to score the first goal in this game. They're going to be super amped to play in front of the fans, and they're going to come out like gorillas out of a cage to start this game against the Minnesota Wild. I think they're going to come off to a really good start because of just the energy in the building. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and the Vancouver Canucks for this game, suffering a bit through the injury bug. Not surprising if you've been a fan of the Vancouver Canucks or following this team for quite a while. We're going to end the show with a bit of talk of the injury updates with the Vancouver Canucks. But first, a word from our sponsors, Rock Auto. The ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. With rockauto.com, you can save time and money. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have everything you could ever need for your car: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there. How'd you hear about us box? So they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. So Lachlan, the injury bug has hit the Vancouver Canucks to start this homestand. Today it was announced that Justin Dowling was placed on IR, and Justin Bailey was called up from the Abbotsford Canucks. They initially said, that Justin Dowling had a maintenance day and then put on IR immediately after, which is not surprising. The Vancouver Canucks over the last little while have a history of saying guys have maintenance days and then they miss some time. So not really surprising around there. Don't buy it when the Canucks PR says maintenance day, because it means they're probably injured at this point. But Justin Bailey, he had a good training camp. I thought, good preseason. There was a few people out there who thought he would make the opening night roster, but he didn't. He got sent down to the Abbotsford Canucks. By all accounts, played well there, and now he's going to get a shot with the big team here in the home opener. Probably playing a similar role to Justin Dowling, fourth line energy guy. Maybe some penalty kill time as well. No Nick Patan called up. I'm still very, very upset about that. They're doing my boy Nick Patan dirty again. All this talk about the power play, give him the Sam Gagner role on the big team. Play him sheltered 5-on-5. Let him cook.
They just signed Alex Chason. They just gave Chason money.
You have to play Alex Chason on the power play, but Nick Patan, no, you just can't do that.
I would be if they tried to send, if they wanted to replace Chason with Patan and see how that goes, I'd be fine with that, to give it a shot. But at this point, it seems like, the problems are less it's clear who should be on the power play units, and it's the guys who are already there, and which is why Chason doesn't really make much sense playing a regular role in the lineup. The Canucks are in a spot where, they don't have a lot of injuries. They're actually strangely healthy to start the year. They're in a weird way, they're actually they're doing pretty okay in terms of icing a healthy roster. The problem is that they have so little depth that even losing a couple depth guys completely decimates your roster. And the fact that, obviously it doesn't seem like Tyler Mott's coming back anytime soon, because we haven't heard many updates.
Same with
from
Brandon
him
Sutter.
recently. Brandon Sutter, Brandon Sutter is in a completely different camp where I'm just I would be, in a way, I'd almost be stunned if he played. I would be stunned if he played at all this season. There was the interesting update yesterday of I believe Travis Hamonic is on his way to Vancouver, according to Matt Sakaris.
Well, we should actually bring that up briefly, because if he's on his way to Vancouver, I don't expect him to be on the big team anytime soon. This guy didn't do training camp. He hasn't really played competitive hockey as well. He's going to need quite a few games, in my opinion, in the AHL to get himself up to speed. So he could be on his way back to Vancouver, but I wouldn't expect him on the big team in the immediate future.
No, then they have him in the they have him technically, I believe, he cleared waivers. Technically he's on the AHL roster right now. So why waste that opportunity? Why not just why not give him a
Mhm.
shot there and see how he does? And let him figure things out there if he's coming back in the right way. Um and yeah, the other thing to keep an eye on as well is this came out this morning. The Blackhawks currently have quite a few teams and quite a few players, I should say, in COVID protocol this morning. Including Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Henrik Borgstrom, Riley Stillman, and Jujhar Khaira, as well as 3 coaches: Mark Crawford, Thomas Mittel, and Jimmy Waite. So that is something to keep an eye on as well from the Canucks side of things. Um, it is obviously like those are all, as I believe, all vaccinated. Those are all vaccinated players, every single one of them, because as of right now, the NHL only has one left, and that's Tyler Bertuzzi. So vaccines do their job. They can definitely they keep you from getting at nearly as sick, but they don't they can't do everything.
Well, I
They're
think
there to
so
just make
far
sure
we've
you're
seen that.
asymptomatic.
I think so far, Lachlan, we've seen that the fact that the NHL has done so well vaccinating its players has kind of eliminated, or so far, like again, knock on wood, but so far we haven't seen the on ice transmission that we saw in that Buffalo, New Jersey game
God,
last
no,
season, right?
not
Like we
even.
haven't
Yeah, not even
because
close.
everyone is vaccinated. I think we've been spared that situation.
Yeah, 100%. It is a case of, the NHL has actually done a very good job on getting players to get their vaccinations. They've done a really good job on, holding teams to the standard of we need you to make sure that your players aren't playing even if they're asymptomatic. We still don't want them playing games if they contract COVID. So it's good that they're taking it so seriously. The Canucks were tested Saturday morning. All tests were negative, so that's good. But sometimes it takes some time. Sometimes it takes some time to get through. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, and we'll monitor that in the future. I'm sure they'll probably get tested today before the game as well. So if there's any uh, negative news there, I'm sure we'll hear about it before the game. It should be an interesting game tonight, Lachlan. Lots of lots of opportunities for guys to bust out of their slumps and perform in front of the home fans. I think that's going to be a big motivating factor for a lot of these guys. I expect like the big guns to have a big game tonight. The guys like Elias Pettersson, I think he's going to be amped to play in front of the fans. He even posted about it on his Instagram saying like, can't wait to see you guys again or what have you. So I'm expecting a big game from him and the big guns on the Canucks as well.
Yep, it's gonna be a fun night. I've noticed the Canucks are getting are getting more active in social media. They're getting more active on on social platforms a little bit here of late, and I like that quite a bit. So yeah, it's good to see the fans and the players interacting a little bit more, and you hope that that transitions into a fun game tonight and in a really good atmosphere. I'm sure it will.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great time, even if you're not at the game. But if you are at the game, it's probably going to be quite the experience. But that has it for today's episode of Locked On Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. Now make sure your second listen of the day is Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Scott Cullen leans on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. Once again, this is Locked On Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Nick Bondi. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Bondi. You can follow Lachlan on Twitter at Lock in the Crease. Lachlan, where can people find your work?
You can find my writing work at luckofthecrease.com. I post articles there from time to time. Go check it out.
What about Canucks Army?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say Luck in the Crease? I meant
Yeah,
CanucksArmy.com.
yeah,
That's where I meant to say. CanucksArmy.com. I'm still getting used to that fact that I work there now.
you're still
Yeah.
getting used to the fact that you're a big J journalist. It's okay.
Yes,
It's gonna take some time
exactly.
for a lot of people to get used to that, I think. But
Yeah.
this is today's episode of Locked On Canucks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.